Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news, and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. Your hosts, Emily Springstroh of Oshkosh Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on GovTV for your City Manager's Report, your source for all of the latest and greatest local news and updates for your city of Oshkosh, as well as a preview of the upcoming Common Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, February 27th, 2018. I'm your host, Emily Springstroh, joined as always by your City Manager, Mark Roloff. Thanks for joining us today, Mark.
Great to be here, Emily.
Definitely. It's great to have you. As always, we're going to go ahead and dive into hot topics for the first half of the show, take a little break, and then we'll come back with the agenda topics that we'd like to highlight. So getting right into it, Mark, first thing that we want to mention, of course, is State of the City. It's less than a month away now, and we are in full preparation mode right now. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect this year at the event.
Well, maybe I should be asking you what we're going to see. Oshkosh Media does a wonderful job of preparing and developing a theme for the program and everything. And really, it's what's next in terms of what great things were accomplished in 2017 and where do we go next. So a lot of things that you've seen before in terms of format, talking to the community, getting input from them. But every year it's a little different in terms of what displays we have. New programs that are going on with the city, and the City Exhibit Expo is really that opportunity for everybody to talk to different staff members, different boards and commission members, council members, of course, but just public education and things maybe you didn't know before that you'd like to find out about. And that's the exciting part of State of the City. If you haven't been to an event, you absolutely would be surprised at just the variety of things that you get to talk to people about. We get several hundred people going to this event, and I'm excited in terms of talking about the future, but there's a lot of things that you'll get from other city staff members, and it's a lot more than just me giving a half-hour or 45-minute presentation.
Exactly, and it's one of those things that every year it's different, like you said, so it's worth coming back. It's great to come to if you've lived here for 2 months or if you've lived here for 20 years. You're going to learn something. It's really awesome. So Monday, March 19th is the State of the City event. Doors open at 6 o'clock for the expo portion, which we're seeing little tidbits of right now. And then Mark's address presentation will take place at 6:30, followed by some really great awards that are going to be given, people getting recognized for community partnerships and citizen service. Overall, just a really great night.
I'm looking forward to it. I know that.
Yes.
I do every year. It's just a lot of fun.
Yes, so hope to see everybody there, and we'll continue to give you little previews and promotions as that date approaches. Up next, something that is also always a big topic here in Oshkosh when it comes out is the citizen survey, and something that's tying in with that this year is Polco, and it's a really great marriage, I think, this year to have Polco assist us with getting the citizen survey out to people.
Right, and we've used Polco already for citizen engagement on issues related to the future use of the remainder of Lakeshore Golf Course, but there's so many other ways that we can engage the public. And one of the things that the council had asked us to do was to find a way to get greater citizen participation with the annual citizen survey. So the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh and Polco have been working together on how to do this. And they're actually going to be bringing out the citizen survey this year on the Polco app in 3 phases. And that starts on Friday, February 24th. And we'll put one version or different stages, I guess, of the survey out each week. And so, get in there early and then stay at it and look for the next phase and then the next phase after that. But the idea is to engage the public. We really do take a look at this information and look at ways that we can improve city services to gauge how we're doing and things we want to do for the future. We're going to be talking about a lot of things that we will talk about at State of the City, but then getting the pulse on the community is really important for that. But the first thing you have to do is sign up for Polco so that you can get notified when these surveys are up. to give your input on that thing.
Right.
You may be one of the lucky people that get the 1,600 mail-in surveys, but we only get about 300 to 400 of those every year. This is a way to give everybody a chance to get in and give us their 2 cents worth or more, and then we take those results and we share them with council, and we plan our strategic planning, our budgets based on the input that we receive. So I think it's a wonderful tool, and I've learned a lot from these citizen surveys.
Yes, so we highly encourage people to get signed up for Palco if you have not used it before. If you did take part in the 3 questions that we posted a few weeks ago, you will get an email notifying you when that citizen survey will be posted. And like you said, 3 phases we're going to be doing it in, make it a little bit easier for people to take, and we're really looking forward to seeing the interaction and the results come through for that. So I guess for future reference, Palco, it's www.palco.us/Oshkosh. As you saw, there is a link on the website as well, so making it nice and easy for you guys to sign up for that. Coming down the line on our hot topics here, Mark, Lakeshore, of course, is always going to be a topic, and we're looking at some pit testing that was done. So this happened earlier this week, and maybe tell us a little bit about first what exactly pit testing is.
Well, pit testing is part of a construction process. Before you start doing the designs for the building itself, you also have to do the design for the footings and foundations, and you have to know what soil you have beneath you before you start doing those things. You may recall that there were 1,000 pillars put beneath the Menominee Nation Arena, and that was because the survey work indicated there's a lot of soft soils down there, and we have to make sure that it's secure. So 1,000 different pilings or areas were drilled with concrete to make that happen. This is that part of the process where they determine how much are they actually going to need to make sure their footings and foundations are secure. And the first step is with doing these pit tests. So they do some digging, and they draw some cores, and they take a look at what's all in here from a structural standpoint. And then they bring that back to the engineers and the architects, and they figure out what that all is. Oshkosh Corp wants to break ground around May 1st, and we want to help them make sure we keep to that schedule for them. By May 1st, they need to know what their footings and foundations are going to look like, because that's the first thing in the ground. So that's really the step in the process. We did that for the Public Works Garage. The folks for the Menominee Nation Arena did it for that. It's really done for any building, but a lot of these areas are built on fill, so you don't exactly know what all the fill is, and this is one way to find out.
Great. And so was anything found? Do we have the results yet? Is there anything out of the ordinary that they're going to have to take a look at?
Well, I think there was a misconception out there that this had something to do with the archaeological work that still needs to get done. We did have an archaeologist out there. We're required by law that when we're doing these things, we have an archaeologist. We've done that for our street projects. And I think last year when we uncovered those old human remains, that got everybody thinking, oh gosh, we really could find something out there. And that's the due diligence that that we're required to do. But nothing was found in this case. But that's why you have them out there, because that, one in whatever, I wouldn't say 1 in a million, but on the off chance that you do find something there, you have to document it and do something with it. But we didn't expect to find anything, because this was really a structural test rather than an archaeological test. But weather permitting, the archaeological stuff will be underway hopefully within the next 30 days, because we want to get all that done. And that's just to rest assured that there's nothing there of concern. But Mother Nature is really what we have to hope for with that.
Right.
Because these test pits, they're pretty much just drilling a core. This is where you're excavating on a wider area. It's broader rather than deeper. So as you go broader, that's a lot of frost out of the ground that you got to dig. And we're hoping that Mother Nature's kind enough to us so we don't have that trouble as we get there.
Definitely. So I guess next steps is just looking at getting the foundation right based on those results, and breaking ground in May, you said. So.
That's the plan. So we're doing everything we can Oshkosh Corp is under a tight schedule. They want to be done by the end of 2019, so our job is to make sure that we get that all done. And or as things unfold, that's really what we're working towards, to get that all done for them.
Great. Moving on, for our last topic before question mark is the Oshkosh Public Museum. The replay exhibit is now open, and it is so cool. So we want to encourage people to get out there, by the same people who created the art of the brick, correct?
Right, that was the Lego exhibit. There's a little bit of that, and it's
Yes.
it's really along those lines. But the replay is really more of a tribute to the 1980s, and so if you're a fan of that era, or if you just want to relive some glory days, come on over and just see the different cultural icons of the 80s that you'll see there. But there's a little bit of that Lego art that's still in there that you saw with Art of the Brick. So if you're a fan of that as well, by all means stop by. Some really interesting exhibits. There's an old Macintosh. People are probably wondering, what's all that about, in Rubik's Cubes. And you can just see all the different relics of the 80s and have a lot of fun with it. Take you down memory lane, or tell your kids what it was like way back in the 80s.
Exactly. A lot of really cool pop culture things from the 80s. So as you can see, February 18th to May 13th is when the exhibit is open. More information, just go to the Public Museum's website. There's a lot of great little previews on there. And while you're there, it's another great opportunity to check out the new permanent exhibit, The People of the Waters. So definitely got to get out there and check that out. So now it's that time of the show here where viewers have the chance to ask the city manager anything they want about things that are happening right here in Oshkosh. It's question mark, so let's go ahead and take a look at the question this week. All right, Mark, so question is, when will the new water tower become active and the old water tower be taken down?
Well, I'll give you a real short answer before we get to the long answer. The short answer is that we plan to have demolition of the old water tower in May. But there's always background as to why May and what things are like that. So we were fortunate to get our Public Works Director, James Robbie, to help you out with some of the answer there.
We definitely did. We had a chance to get into the water tower, take a look at what's going on, and get a little bit more background about how that all works and the next steps. So let's take a look at what James had to say.
In the case of Marion Road, this new tower is being built because the old tower is very old. That tower was built in 1936. It's time. It needs to be reconstructed, just because to continue to maintain something of that age, you just can't do it because you start to have serious failures. Probably springtime we'll get this one completely operational, and then they'll start tearing the other one down. But they're not going to start tearing the other one down until we know this one's fully operational, functional, and we've got communication back to the water filtration plant.
So as always, communication's the key, and the idea that we need to know for all our telemetry systems that monitor the level of the water tower, and that we have that information. We know that they're talking to one another so that it's seamless. Once the new water tower is operational, the charts and graphs that our folks are monitoring at the water filtration plant are monitored correctly. So there they sit side by side.
This is a live shot.
Yeah, it's sort of like baby New Year and old man New Year. That's what we have, and that's what we're switching over to. But May is our target date, and right now we're doing fine on meeting that target.
Yes. So a couple follow-up questions that I've seen on social media. One of them being, why the blue band on the bottom of the bulb of the new water tower? What's the reasoning for the color under there?
It's more of a recent phenomenon, but the way it's been explained to me is that when it's a light color underneath, as everything has condensation around the water tower with the change in temperature, and actually that takes away the likelihood that you're going to have mold or mildew kind of form at the bottom of the bowl, and then it looks ugly.
Right.
So it just kind of will eliminate that from happening. So
Very
what's your other one?
interesting.
What's the other question that we've been getting?
Well, as we're looking at the live shot, I noticed a difference between the video that we just watched in the last week or so. You'll notice there's a hat on the top of the new water tower too. So what exactly is that little wall that was built up there in the last week or two?
Yeah, it's funny. People have been calling it a hat. That's actually, it's really more cosmetic than anything. It's to hide all the antennas and things of that nature. We actually lease space on the water tower for cell phone companies and things of that nature. We use it for some of our communications capabilities as well because it's the tallest structure in the city. The idea behind putting the other cell tower antennas is we make money off of that. We get our annual rent from the cell companies, and so rather than have them all up there, they're up there. Those, I think most of them, if not all of them, are up there now. And so we put it's really more of a wall. It's not so much a hat. So, but it's there, and the whole idea is to just make it more aesthetically pleasing than having all those antennas popping up all over the place.
Yes, it's been interesting to learn about how the water towers all get built and used and everything. So we're looking forward to finally seeing that older one come down.
Yep, eventually it will.
So once again, if you'd like to send a question to Mark, simply send it to us on Twitter or Facebook. You can email it to us as well, and he'll answer it on the next episode of City Manager's Report. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive into the Common Council meeting agenda for this Tuesday, February 27th, 2018. We'll be right back.
In the last year, the City of Oshkosh experienced great progress and unity across our community. The 2018 State of the City Address and City Exhibit Expo will take place on Monday, March 19th at the Oshkosh Convention Center, and I'd like to invite you to join us. Doors open at 6 p.m. and the address begins at 6:30. Following the presentation, we will honor citizens who made great contributions to our community's growth. The night concludes with the Expo, where you can talk with city staff about ways to make Oshkosh a top place to live and visit. Please join us for the State of the City at the Convention Center on Monday, March 19th.
Calling all pop culture fanatics. Your favorite characters are coming to the Oshkosh Public Museum. Replay is the ultimate throwback, featuring more than 30 vibrant pieces of art that celebrate the comic books, movies, and superheroes of the iconic 80s. Experience Replay, the exhibition, on display February 18th to May 13th at the Oshkosh Public Museum. For more information, visit oshkoshmuseum.org.
Welcome back to City Manager's Report. Now it is that time of the show where we're going to go ahead and take a little preview of the upcoming Common Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, February 27th. So Mark, first item that we wanted to discuss here, one of the hotter ones, is awarding the bid for Public Works contract for paving sidewalk, driveway, utilities, second local street concrete paving program, and then another one right behind it that is directly related, and that's for the purchases of traffic signal equipment for lighting poles and fixtures for the Oregon Street reconstruction project. Give us a little bit of background about this, special assessments. What exactly is this for?
Well, this is a huge project. We are redoing the sanitary sewer on Oregon Street from 8th Avenue south down to Ripple Road, and it's going to be done in 5-year phases. This year's phase will be from 8th Street to 16th Street. So it's $7.2 million contract award that we're doing. So obviously this is a big deal. And then the lighting equipment, or the street light poles and fixtures, we typically buy those, and then our folks install them as part of the project. There is a little more work north of 8th. It's primarily some storm sewer connections and whatnot that we're doing and getting that done. Since we're out there and it just makes sense to get it done now, we aren't going to be doing a ton of digging north of 8th, but 8th from Oregon from 8th to 16th is going to be dug up this year. We are going to be doing special assessments. We've been meeting with the neighbors and doing a final meeting with the neighbors just prior to the council meeting to answer questions they might have before the hearing. So it's a lot of things going on Tuesday night to give the to get the bid award and let the public know what to expect. So you're going to see a lot. It's going to be a little disruptive on that stretch of Oregon Street this year, but you're going to see that disruption on progressive phases of Oregon Street for the next 5 years.
But it'll all be worth it, right?
Oh, absolutely. It'll be worth it. Well worth it. It will facilitate growth in the city,
yes,
and make for a better, more reliable sanitary sewer system.
Excellent. Moving on under consent agenda, approval of the purchase for Riverwalk bollards and light poles for the electric division. This is part of the 2018 Riverwalk project list. So this is kind of exciting to see on this agenda.
We've been putting in lighting fixtures for all of our Riverwalk projects. We want to encourage people to enjoy the Riverwalk at night. Sometimes that's the only time you get to go, and other times people enjoy going for a walk after dinner at one of the restaurants along the Riverwalk. So example of both the street lights as well as the bollards themselves, which are not as obtrusive, but they make a very nice atmosphere, and people feel safe walking along the Riverwalk. And we're excited that people think so highly of the Riverwalk that we need lights out there. So we're excited that we're going to be putting these in, and look for the progress from the Oregon-Jackson Street Bridge. You're going to see a lot of activity this year, and this will be one of them.
Definitely, and it really is beautiful at night too when you come out there, and the lights really add a nice touch as you're enjoying the Riverwalk after dinner, like you said. Moving down under the consent agenda, accept donation from the Oshkosh Community Foundation to relight the Sawyer Home Tiffany windows. Explain to us where these windows are located at the museum, and tell us a little bit about that donation.
These windows are actually on the stairway as you go from the first to the second floor. And we wanted to add some lighting to it, and we found a donor who was willing to donate to make those Tiffany windows really sparkle and bring out their luster, because they're underappreciated if they're not well lit. And it's wonderful that we had a donor that said, look, and they want to remain anonymous, and so that's just wonderful that they just care about the museum so much that they're willing to do this. So go to the museum to look at replay and see what it looks like now, and then come back a couple months later and maybe with another exhibit after replay and see what it looks like. So more ideas to come back and enjoy the museum for everybody.
Definitely, and those windows are well worth the trip. They're absolutely beautiful,
Oh,
and
yeah.
a great piece of history. Moving down the agenda, under pending ordinances, we have the amending of Chapter 2 of the City Municipal Code to combine the Traffic Review Advisory Board and Parking Utility Commission into a single Traffic and Parking Advisory Board. Now, this was direction given to you by Council to take a look at these boards and commissions and see what might be able to be consolidated. So give us a little background on that and why this is being done.
We took a look at a lot of different boards and commissions. We surveyed our boards and commissions, and while nobody likes to necessarily break up these boards and commissions, we saw that in order to be able to attract people, maybe some like type boards and commissions needed to be brought together. So in this case, this is a Traffic Review Advisory Board and the Parking Utility, and they have it's about cars and where they go and everything like that. And there seemed to be a good marriage with these two, and both boards have essentially understood that that's appropriate. And so they've been planning for council to take action on this. So actually most of the members of the Traffic Advisory Board are simply going to take over the parking utility duties. But the idea is to make it more efficient. We don't want to ask too much of our board members, but when they come, they want it to be substantial work. So this is the first one that we're doing to do some consolidation.
Any other boards on the list of possibilities for consolidation?
The other one that seemed to council asked to bring forward is to the Grand Opera House Advisory Board to get folded into the Landmarks Commission. There's a Grand Opera House Foundation that really does the bulk of the work in terms of making decisions on it, and it really was more of an advisory because the Grand Opera House is a national landmark. That it seemed appropriate for the Landmarks Commission to take those duties over, and we have passionate people who care about both landmarks as well as the Grand Opera House itself, and it seemed like a good marriage.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the update on that. Moving on into new resolutions, we have a request from the BID, the Business Improvement District, to waive extraordinary fees for Oshkosh Saturday Farmers Market. It's been an ongoing conversation about the event fees and the farmers market. Why waive the fees for the market?
Well, the BID has, the Business Improvement District has essentially seen the value both to the downtown as well as the greater community, and they've agreed to assume the organizational responsibilities for the farmers market. They're going to continue to contract with the farmers market group, which Carlene and Dennis Leatherman have been doing that for years. They're eventually going to be stepping down, but the farmers market group will still be managing it for the BID. But I think they feel that it meets many of their criteria. I've taken a look at it, and we have 10 criteria that are required to be analyzed. And arguably, I think it meets at least 7 of the 10 for that. So that's something for the council to consider. The council has not granted any waivers for extraordinary fees to date for special events, but the ordinance does provide that it can be done, so the council will take a look at that, hear from the bid, hear from the farmers market folks. It's a wonderful farmers market, there's no question about that. Question is, does it rise to the level of granting a waiver, and that's really what they'll be doing.
Excellent. So we'll look forward to more discussion about that at the meeting and hearing a little bit more about what the council's thinking. So moving on, item right after that is provide direction to staff relating to Oshkosh Avenue corridor improvements, and that is dealing with Oshkosh Ave, Keller Street, and Westfield Street. So presenting a few options to council at this meeting.
This is the culmination of the workshops that we've been having, showing the different options. You'll notice we didn't talk about Sawyer. We're going to talk about that another day because there's the redevelopment authority has to chime in on that one as well, and they haven't met yet. But these ones, we want to get some streets planned because we're working with Oshkosh Corporation to get the streets punched in. And what you see on this graphic is the pink purplish roads are the new roads that will get brought in from Oshkosh Avenue to get to the Oshkosh Corporation development. And we want to know how to connect and what we will connect to on Oshkosh Avenue. So as well as the intersection, a new intersection at Westfield, because we're adding a fourth leg and widening the leg likely over at the roundabout on Keller as it goes towards Rath Lane. But we want to make sure that we stay on schedule for Oshkosh Corporation to get opened on time. And so we're seeking direction from the council, and they're looking at different profiles of how wide Oshkosh Avenue should be. And there are long-term considerations as well as short-term considerations. And the profile of the street that's being discussed is, do you want to have a divided 4-lane road or an undivided 4-lane road? So you can kind of see how that looks. If it's undivided, there still would be turning lanes over at Westfield Drive, or do you make it extra wide and have a boulevard down the remainder of the street? So those are really the issues that the board or the council is taking now that they've gotten recommendations from the Plan Commission as well as the Traffic Review Advisory Board.
And cost is always something to consider in here as well as you look at the different width of streets and different options there.
The TIF budget only anticipated the 4-lane undivided road at about a cost of about $940,000. It's over $4 million for the divided road because you're effectively reconstructing the whole road and utilities, and that's just a lot more costly. So obviously it comes down to money in so many of these cases, and the council will have to wrestle with, well, if we're going to do this, how do we pay for it? If we don't do it, how do we still plan for it even if we don't do it immediately? How do we plan for the future? And the success of the TIF districts will help determine that as well.
Excellent. Last item we're going to talk about here, a little plug for an upcoming event, and that is Guns N' Hoses coming up on March 10th. We always look forward to this exciting hockey game.
Annual fundraiser. It's kind of fire department takes the lead, but it's fire department versus police department, red versus blue, and it's over at the 20th Avenue Y, March 10th at 3 p.m. A lot of fun. There's raffles. It's a great fundraiser. They pick a different charity every single year, and they announce it to let people know who it's going to be about. So you don't have to buy tickets in advance, just show up, but it's a lot of fun.
It's really fun.
Those guys can play some pretty good hockey.
They're really good.
So I encourage people to take advantage of it.
Yes, and check them out on Facebook too for more information about that charity, like you said, Mark, and just details of the game and what to expect. So that's going to do it for this episode of City Manager's Report. We are out of time. So as always, Mark, thank you very much for joining us today.
Been a pleasure.
Again, the Common Council meeting is this Tuesday, February 27th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on GovTV and on our website at oshkoshmedia.org, or you can listen to it on 101.9 Oshkosh FM, which is also online and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Make sure you like Oshkosh Media on Facebook or follow us on Twitter for all of your community and government programming and updates, or check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs. And as always, don't forget, if you have a question for City Manager Mark Roloff, send it to us on Twitter, post it on our Facebook wall, or go ahead and email it to us and he'll answer it on the next episode of CMR. So once again, thank you very much for joining us on City Manager's Report, and we'll see you next time.